You're listening to Gay News.
The latest news from the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender and queer community. And now your host, Brandon CARMODY.
Thank you for listening to Gay News. Today is June 29th, 2015. I'm Brandon CARMODY. We want to welcome our listeners in the United States and around the world. Love wins. Spread like a wildfire across social media after Friday's landmark decision from the Supreme Court legalizing same-sex marriage in the United States. Celebrations in the U.S. and around the world happened at pride parades from New York to London as thousands marched in celebration as all eyes turned to our nation.
The following is a statement from Mayor Charlie Hayles on today's news. More perfect union. Today, the U.S. Supreme Court said that equity is the law of the land. It's been the law in our hearts for a long time, and now it is woven into the fabric of our union. The rainbow flag and the American flag are cut from the same cloth. The rest of the nation joins Oregon. Love wins. Congratulations, everyone in America.
Today, love wins. The United States Supreme Court extended the right to marry nationwide, giving couples and families the freedoms and recognition they deserve. I am so grateful to the many people, some of them Oregonians, who lent their voices to the fight for marriage equality. Let's acknowledge the steps these courageous individuals took in the name of love. In the words of Supreme Court Justice Anthony M. Kennedy, "No union is more profound than marriage, for it embodies the highest ideals of love, fidelity, devotion, sacrifice, and family. In forming a marital union, two people become something greater than they once were." While the Supreme Court has upheld the union of marriage, our work is not done. Let us remember that we will still strive to end discrimination and hate so that all people can live with dignity. Love who you want to love, marry who you want to marry, be who you are, and celebrate.
In a long-sought victory for the gay rights movement, the Supreme Court ruled by a 5-4 vote on Friday that the Constitution guarantees the right to same-sex marriage. No longer may this liberty be denied. Justice Anthony M. Kennedy wrote for the majority in the historic decision. No union is more profound than marriage, for it embodies the highest ideals of love, fidelity, devotion, sacrifice, and family. In forming a marital union, two people become something greater than they once were. So with that, we want to bring in Gay News correspondent Special Agent Jay. Welcome back to Gay News.
Hey, thanks for having me back.
So after the Supreme Court ruling, a tidal wave of love wins lit up social media. The White House and many other monuments were lit up with rainbow colors. Marriage licenses were immediately issued in many of the 13 states where same-sex had been previously banned, and a lot of the marriages took place on Friday. As you probably know, in the Rose Garden, President Obama welcomed the decision, saying that it affirms what millions of Americans believe in their hearts. Today, he said, we can in no uncertain terms that we have made our union a little more perfect. So, Jay, this looks to me like the most definitive moment in LGBTQ history after a civil rights journey for marriage equality that has lasted for more than 40 years. So was this the moment that changed the future and the perception of history?
Well, I think that every decision we make, regardless how small, is, it changes the future, but this was one of the significant, if not the most significant changes and shapers of what is to come. Because, I was thinking this morning, there isn't a child, that was born 2 days ago. They will never know a world where gay people could not get married. I mean, we will know, we will remember, and we'll be able to tell stories around the campfire about how silly it was. And they're going to look at us and wonder what the heck the problem was. But, it's the most definitive moment for us right now, in this moment. I think, in the future, a definitive moment could be, a lesbian couple in the White House with 2 adopted mixed-race children. And hopefully at some point in the even further future, nobody will bat an eye at that. They're like, oh, okay, yeah, sure. I mean, she had the qualifications. That's why I voted for her. It'll be inconsequential. It won't even be a factor in their consideration.
And maybe progress moving forward will be about removing those labels, removing those barriers, the need to define gender and assign these labels and identities. Perhaps.
Well, yeah. I mean, all of our LGBT brothers, sisters, and those who identify otherwise. I mean, this is the moment that changed as a community, the future. And there are people out there. I've asked them. It's like, okay, I have a friend that lives in a state that previously did not allow it, and he's been living with his partner for I think 12 years now. And I asked him that morning. I said, "Well, obviously you've heard the news, but are you and your partner going to make it official now?" And he said, "No. We don't really need to. We've been living together for as long as we have. We don't need a piece of paper to prove that. If we do decide to do it for tax purposes, and that's pretty much the only reason why we would, at some point we'll talk about that. But right now it's not a consideration. But, it's the fact that we have the ability to do that, I think, is most important. And that nobody can really tell us no anymore. And, I mean, I know recently there were some county clerks that, because of their personal beliefs, refused to hand out any marriage licenses at all. And, you just hop over to the next county and get one. And you'll eventually find someone that will give you one. But it's just the fact that it's possible. And, it's just a really awesome time for us.
That's some really unique insight to have an LGBTQ couple that has been together for so long that perhaps at different times in their commitment to each other have considered marriage, saying, you know what, okay, glad to know that we have that option, but not right now, or maybe not. So not everyone is going to be rushing to their registrar's office and to the church hall.
Well, I'm sure a great many of them have, and I've been reading the news reports, and I know that the caterers and the wedding planners are, on cloud nine right now. They really are.
Well, there's a big party. So here's what I want to ask you, Jay. So now that the Supreme Court has legalized same-sex marriage nationwide, and the weekend-long party is still going strong, what do you see as some of the next legal challenges and places that the LGBTQ rights still need to be strengthened? Our fight and our challenges don't end with the Supreme Court case, do they?
No, I do not believe they do. And first, to those young ones out there who might be listening that want to rush out to the nearest chapel, please wait and think about it. Because once you're married, this isn't, a promise ring. This isn't a civil union. This is a marriage. And getting one annulled, a divorce, can be lengthy, painful, nasty, and incredibly expensive. That's one thing that you really need to consider when it comes to that sort of thing. But it does come with a myriad benefits, like insurance. You get inheritance benefits. There's going to be a skyrocket in child adoption. I can almost certainly guarantee you that. Because, single individuals have a hard time doing that, and now that they are legally married, it's going to make it a lot easier for them to adopt a child. And I know a lot of couples out there that have been longing to be able to do that. But also, on the others, again, a con, unfortunately, in those states that are now required to recognize and, grant the right of same-gender marriage, those that still don't consider a targeted assault on a gay person because they are gay a hate crime, they are still not required to call it a hate crime. It's just another assault, of whatever varying degree that might be. And in our case here in Oregon, it's still a no-cause state. I don't have a list of the other no-cause states out there. And there are some states that do have special protections for their employees that may be of a differing orientation. And if they feel as though they were fired or discharged from their job due to their sexuality, you really have to be able to prove that, and that sometimes can be very difficult. And this also doesn't protect you from people who want to refuse service based on their religious beliefs. Bigotry is still legal. Gay marriage might be, but ignorance is. You can't be arrested for ignorance. It's like recently it made national news. This lesbian couple wanted a cake made, and they were denied, and now they're going through this lawsuit, and it's quite a public display. And frankly, I think they kind of overblew that, and I will just go somewhere that will make the cake for me. I'm not going to sue this person because they don't want to. And frankly, I think the person that refused is a hypocrite. Yes, I don't think she had the right to do that, because if she would have to, if it was against her religious beliefs, refuse service to a Muslim or a Mormon or a Jehovah's Witness, because those are in conflict with her particular beliefs. But that's a completely different segment. We can do that one tomorrow. But, in terms of that, if you're really concerned about being denied service, call ahead, save yourself the heartache, and ask whether it's going to be an issue. and then you can just go through the phone book until you find someone that that'll help you out.
What about the tax code? I want to ask you a follow-up question on the same topic about the areas that we still need to work on. Let's look at the case of Edie Windsor, who, of course, won her landmark case to the Supreme Court in 2013. The issue at hand was that her partner passed away, her wife, her spouse passed away, and they wanted to charge this enormous estate tax upon her, which is a penalty, a tremendous penalty, because the estate was rather wealthy and it was going to come into the $300,000 range in tax penalties. I also want to note that Oregon Senator Ron Wyden just proposed to do a tax code reform to bring tax codes more in line with our current system, especially under the Supreme Court legalizing same-sex marriage. That leaves Oregon and several other states with out-of-date laws that are not going to fully support us. So there's more to do to bring both of our protections and our financial protections in line. Is that fair to say?
I believe so, and you know, as you said, Ron Wyden, you know, has proposed to reform the tax code to bring it in line with our current, you know, status, and make sure that many outdated laws, hopefully all of them, are brought up to the standard of the equal rights named under this recent SCOTUS ruling.
Okay. Now I want to let our listeners know, Jay, that both you and I were here for many of the highlights of Oregon's gay marriage history. That includes both some positive, negative, you know, some extreme highs and lows, lest we all forget the election of 2004. But I'd like to recap for our listeners some of what you and I have seen in our gay lifetime. I'll take the lead here. In March 2004, the Multnomah County in Oregon began issuing marriage licenses for same-sex couples, but after a months-long back and forth in the courts, these marriage licenses were declared invalid.
In November 2004, anti-gay forces in Oregon pushed through ballot measure 36, a constitutional amendment that excludes same-sex couples from marriage and prohibits same-sex couples from attaining any form of legal family status.
On May 9, 2007, Oregon Governor Ted Kulongoski signed a broad domestic partnership bill after it was approved by the state legislature. The law, which provides some, but not all, of the protections that marriage affords, went into effect on February 1st, 2008.
On October 18, 2013, Oregon began honoring the marriages of same-sex couples who legally married out of state.
On May 19, 2014, Oregon became the 19th jurisdiction with the freedom to marry for same-sex couples when a federal judge struck down an anti-marriage constitutional amendment in the state that restricted marriage to different-sex couples. The decision took effect immediately, and same-sex couples began marrying just minutes after the rule. The final question goes to Jay, and just to let our listeners know, Jay played the piano at my wedding and observed what was happening in Oregon during that small window where only 3,000 couples got their marriage licenses in Multnomah County, some of them getting married outside on the steps of the Multnomah building as soon as they came out with the ink still wet on their licenses because they feared that they would run out of time. So looking back on that time, now are you surprised that it took 11 years since my wedding day to get where we are today? And in your view, will gay marriage one day simply become known as marriage?
Well, to answer your first question, looking back on that time, I am surprised that it took only 11 years, because I want you to compare the length of time of the Black Civil Rights Movement to ours. You know, I mean, it was from 0 to 40, I mean, we were making slow progress, and there were serious missteps politically on our side and on theirs. But, you know, we were kind of, literally forced into a closet, specifically during the AIDS crisis of the 80s. Reagan didn't even say the word AIDS until halfway through his second term. So everybody was turning a bit of a blind eye. And it became a political platform for a lot of people once it became clear that, you know, we weren't going anywhere and, you know, we could get some votes if they wanted them. But yeah, if you think about it, it's only taken 7 years since we elected a black president till today. 7 years. And I think that's an incredible amount of progress in a very short amount of time, and I'm surprised that we seem to be handling it pretty well. I'm not noticing a whole lot of shock because we've been kind of gradually introduced to this sort of thing. There were gay characters on The Golden Girls, there were gay characters on Roseanne, and then it became more serious instead of these comedic, doing these antics off on the side, dancing like a fairy. Now we have serious gay characters on television that you actually care about, and, it just, the whole sexuality thing becomes kind of a non-issue, and that's where I really want it to go. Now, to answer your second question, and will gay marriage simply become marriage, I don't know a single married gay couple that goes around saying, yeah, we're gay married. I think that's usually a term reserved for straight people to describe us. So it's
again with the labels, with everyone's constant need to use labeling to assign gender, to assign a label, to identify.
It will take some time. It will take some time because, there are still people out there right now that will never accept this. I mean, they're so staunch in their beliefs that they'll just never accept it. So, it'll take some time. But I believe that more than likely our grandchildren's generation will be the ones who will just refer to it as marriage.
On the program tomorrow night, I'm going to ask you to join in a discussion about the 2016 presidential contenders, and I think we're going to go through the gamut, both on the Democratic and the GOP side, and do some comparisons, and
can we just do the top candidates? Because that could take some time. Could we just do the top candidates? Because that's going to take some time.
Just the top candidates? You mean the ones that have been allowed into the Fox debates? That was a joke.
Well, you let me know what you want to talk about, Brandon.
I think Donald Trump just barely made the cut, being in 10th place.
Well, that will be a fun episode, guys. Tune in next time because I got a lot to say about Trump.
All right. Well, we're going to leave it there for tonight. Special Agent Jay, thanks for joining us in Gay News. He's going to be with us all week on our Supreme Court gay marriage landmark decision. We're going to have coverage all week, so catch us back again tomorrow night. Thanks, Jay.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks.
We're speaking today with Rebecca ESCAMILLA. Rebecca, welcome to Gay News.
Thank you.
So we see that you are offering services as an ordained minister free to help LGBT couples get married on Reddit. Could you please tell us about your offer and how long this offer good for, and why did you decide to make this offer to LGBT couples?
Sure. Well, the offer is also available to, hetero couples, just to put it out there, because it's all equal here. So marriage is marriage at this point. But although I admit the focus was on LGBTQ couples in honor of the ruling, the offer stands. I originally said this for a few weeks as I was recently laid off and have some free time on my hands, but due to the response, I think I will extend it a little bit. I have people asking about August. I have somebody asking about Valentine's Day next year. It's all over the map here, or the calendar, should I say. So I think that'll be extended, but within reason, according to my schedule as well. The reason I chose to do this, I was just floored and excited by the news as here on the West Coast. I was woken up by my husband telling me the news, and it was just a momentous, exhilarating moment, and everybody was crying at home, and it was very exciting. And later on in the day, I reflected back on people who had worked for, decades advocating for LGBTQ rights, and people who provided, generous donations to the cause, and people who have sacrificed so much of their time and energy, and people who have sacrificed even more, or people who have lived through threats, basically everybody who suffered without sharing the same marriage equality rights as everyone else. And I was just thinking, what can I do today? What can I do to help? What can I do to show my gratitude to what the LGBTQ community and our allies have done to help make this a reality? And I was like, what's something simple I can do? How can I help people getting married? Oh, I know how to do a wedding, so why don't I offer that? Especially while I have a little free time right now.
That's exciting. I am really applaud your efforts. Now, and I heard the word ally, and just speaking to you, I definitely get the impression that you're an ally. So here's a question for you. Do you personally identify as LGBT? And if you do, how would you compare your identification to that of Oregon Governor Kate Brown, who, as we know, is the first openly bisexual governor in U.S. history?
Yeah. I actually identify as the Q part. You left it off there, but I identify as queer. So, I mean, I don't know Governor Brown personally or the subtle nuances of how she feels about her sexuality, but if you mean as I am a non-heterosexual woman and I am married to a cisgender male. If that's
okay.
That's basically the closest thing. Oh, and I also live in Woodstock, and from what I understand, they used to live in Woodstock too. But that's about it. But yes, I do identify as queer.
Exciting! Wow. And how far? I mean, do you mind if I ask how far back does your history go with the LGBT as part of your own life? How far back do your memories go?
Forever, but as a member, like an active member of working in the community, not much, to be honest. I grew up in a suburb of Detroit, and it was a little more conservative and, Catholic family kind of thing. And I didn't realize it was a different thing until maybe third grade. And then I was like, oh, it is different. Like, this is not like everybody else. So it took a long time until I was able to understand what it was. And, I attended a few Pride events, but things like that when I was younger. And but you get treated a little bit differently when you marry someone of the opposite gender. So it's a little weird. There's definitely a stigma there, and it's kind of like, well, you can still be queer no matter who you're with, and so for me it's more about fluidity and that it's, I don't know where I'm going with this, but
well, maybe we'll get to a point, with LGBT history moving forward where we're going to remove all labels, but I know that there's more work to be done. I mean, right now we're celebrating gay marriage, so I want to ask you about that. So you were ordained online as to perform ceremonies through the Universal Life Church. Yep. When you did that, and now looking at what happened on Friday, did you ever imagine, Rebecca, that we would see a 5-4 decision from the Supreme Court and this emotional tidal wave of love exploding on social media like we saw Friday? Did you ever, in your wildest imagination, picture this happening?
I certainly hoped for it. And since it's been, we've had marriage equality here in Oregon for a little over a year now, I think that, you can always keep your fingers crossed. I didn't think that within a year of us having it legal here that it would be legal in places like Texas or Nebraska or Mississippi, but I am thrilled for all the families and people who are living in places where they might not have much of a chance before, or people who are in same-sex marriages and who visit these states where previously they would not have had their marriages recognized and may have been in danger in case of a medical emergency, or heaven forbid something with their children may have happened, and they might not share the same rights for taking care of their children. I know I've had some friends who haven't been able to travel or live in certain states because they're concerned about employment and about one parent being the birth mother and the other parent not having any biological connection to their child, but obviously has been the child's mother just the same for the child's whole life. And that has been a horrible worry. And this is just such a relief for so many families and for so many kids out there who could have had their, family life thrown into disruption just because of some, horrible laws that withhold rights for something so it just seems so silly. And it's a shame it's taken so long, but I'm so glad it's here. And also I encourage anybody, just so you know, registering with Universal Life Church is very quick, very easy. Anybody can do it in about 5 minutes, and it's free. There are certain counties and certain states where the requirements are a little bit different, so it's important for whatever state someone's in to look that up before they go jumping into it. But in Oregon, you can do this, and you can basically do anyone's wedding, and it's awesome. So anybody can help out. You know, you can have a friend, you can ask your friend or someone
Excellent.
special to you. Yeah. So
Now,
every
that's great.
helps. Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, where do you see this country going from here? When you see that the Supreme Court has legalized gay marriage, you have President Barack Obama speaking from the White House, you know, the first president in our history that has fully supported LGBTQ rights and the right to marry. Is this a reflection of how far we've come in the last 40 years?
I think so, and I'm excited about it. And I think, in a way, to me, it's almost more. It's sad that it's taken so long. But it's encouraging for what the future could mean. I like this momentum. I love this momentum. It feels like, you know, one state does it here, one state does it there. Then 10 years later, you know, we go from, what was that, 2004, I think, for Massachusetts and Iowa, I don't remember. But it just starts to kind of snowball into, okay, you know, 10, 11 years later, now we have national marriage equality. That's wonderful. That's exciting. But there's still so many things we have left on the list. I feel very strongly about employment discrimination. I have, you know, we all have someone we care about who lives in a state where they could just be fired simply for being gay, or, you know, maybe having a picture on Facebook of them holding hands with their husband or something, and, they could get fired, or even hiring discrimination, things like that could be a problem. So I'm really looking forward to how this type of momentum and this type of support from LGBTQ allies, how strong that is, and that message that was sent, especially in social media. You know, everybody's Facebook was exploding, and Twitter, everything was awesome and rainbow colors, and still is right now. But
I want to pick up on that directly. Did you notice that within our allies of Ron Wyden and Jeff Merkley were both talking about how they're proposing reforming the tax code to bring it in line with our current era and the rights awarded by the Supreme Court to ensure that everything comes more fairly into the tax code. And of course, there's been a lot of discussion about hate crime laws, workplace protection, insurance, death benefits, getting rid of the estate tax, adoption issues. There definitely is more work to do. Is that fair to say?
Oh yeah, I mean, there's always room for improvement. There's always room for growth. But that's true for anything. But especially in issues like this. And, you know, we're kind of getting to the paperwork stage of, okay, now we've got this big one done. What's next? Like, let's have a party for a while, and then, you know, let's get to work. And I encourage anybody out there who feels for the cause, you know, spend an afternoon helping out, stuff some envelopes, pound some pavement, you know, throw a couple dollars at somebody who needs it for, you know, political action groups in your community or nationally, who are working to, you know, every step we take further is more improvement, and I look forward to that, and I'm optimistic about it.
Excellent. Now, the last question for you today, Rebecca, and I noticed that, of course, you put your offer, you know, for marrying couples on Reddit, and I saw some television coverage. So how big of a response have you received from your offer? And I know you hinted that you have people asking you about the next few months. How busy are you going to be?
I don't know. It's actually been really bizarre. I've had the most bizarre response. I didn't initially put the offer on Reddit. I put it on my personal Twitter account and then a group specifically for Portlanders on Facebook that I put it on. And then there was a huge response, mostly just of people supporting it, saying, that's awesome, that's great. And a couple people saying, how can I help too? Which I think is even more exciting because it's encouraging other people to just take one moment out of your day to make it a little better for somebody else. And that's so exciting to me that other people want to do this too and are willing. And I've had a couple other people who are ordained offer their services, and some of different faiths. And so that's wonderful. If somebody comes to me saying they're looking specifically for like a Wiccan ceremony, for example, that's not really something I have a lot of experience in, but somebody, you know, a Wiccan ordained minister contacted me saying she'd be happy to help out with anybody looking for that kind of ceremony. And I had another person saying they'll do just about anything. And I even had a wedding photographer contact me saying she'd be happy to photograph any weddings I do for free, which is amazing that all these people are stepping forward to help out. And after the news program on K2 the other night, I did receive quite a few emails, and some just saying thank you, which was very sweet and moving. And they're there were, I'm not sure, maybe about a dozen couples at this point. And a good mix, though, of same-sex and of hetero couples have contacted me. And basically, it seems to be more just, people with a lower income who need help and might not know somebody around town who they could already ask to do it. Like maybe it's a recent transplant who hasn't made a lot of friends here yet or doesn't have family here, kind of thing.
Yes.
So that's been nice. And I'm happy to help out whoever needs it. And I'm just even more thrilled, though, at the response, at how excited this is getting other people to step up, to do something small and to make it better for somebody else. And that is just thrilling to me.
That's just so wonderful for you to help out these couples. That, as we said, just to clarify, both hetero and LGBT. Rebecca, thank you so much for coming on Gay News. We applaud the work that you're doing. Best of luck with these weddings. And more than anything, we want to wish you and all of them a good gay.
Well, thank you, and you too. And it's been a pleasure being on your show.
All right, thank you. Have a good one.
You too. Bye-bye.
We're here with Marty Davis, former publisher of Just Out. Today was a historic day for the LGBTQ community, Marty. What's your immediate reaction? How has today been for you?
Well, it's exciting to watch so many people be so happy and so victorious, and I've been following this story for 20 years, and even though I don't have a newspaper anymore, it's great to write, not the ending, but very close to the last paragraph on the last story for marriage equality.
Did you ever think that we would get to today, or did you think that there would be a today?
I mean, I knew it would, but I thought we might have to wait at least another 30 years or so, to use that unfortunate phrase, until all the old white men die off. So it's nice to know that we don't have to wait. They can lead their lives and we can lead our lives, and everyone can be happily ever after, and no one has to die to gain marriage equality. So.
Now, I haven't read through the entire legal opinion, but does today essentially settle it? I mean, is this kind of a done deal?
Truth be told, I'm assuming. I haven't read it either. I heard it early this morning. I had a lot of running around to do to get down here, so I haven't really sat and read it. I don't even know what day it goes into effect, but from what I gathered from the speakers, people are getting married right now as we speak in states that did not yesterday recognize same-sex marriage.
They were just waiting for the green light,
so
really.
I'm sort of getting the feeling that it's going down.
Well, when the Supreme Court makes a definitive ruling, I think that trumps all lower courts right there, right?
That's what they did. It was some district court ruling, and they just said nope.
So you caught my attention by talking about the history. So does that mean that you have experience with DOMA, Don't Ask, Don't Tell? I mean, what's the backstory that you've seen in the marriage history?
Well, the last few years it's kind of been like one of those domino things that they set up. When it started falling, it kind of started falling fast. I know for some activists it would never have been fast enough, but for some of the more conservative in the crowd that was willing to go slow and wait and pace, I think it was on a very accelerated fast track, and I'm kind of stunned. There's gay marriage. I mean, I haven't even stopped to think it out yet, but...
Well, I remember crying watching the TV announcement from President Obama. President Obama was the first president to embrace it, and that brought tears to my eyes right there to see that coming out of a living president. That's something I didn't think I'd see in my lifetime.
There's still going to be classism and a caste system in America. That's not going to go away, but we are on paper for the moment, and we have the right to defend our position. All people are created equal.
All right. Thank you for your thoughts, Marty. We're here today with Brian Diva Cox, a Portland celebrity. We're talking about the Supreme Court's historic landmark decision today, legalizing same-sex marriage. Is this a great day?
Oh, yes, it is a great day. And I got to say, it's about damn time. This has been coming. This fight's been on for way too long for being, America, the opportunity of freedom and, what is it, the American dream? I don't know. But anyways, But yeah, for sure, it's a great day. Everybody's celebrating. I can't wait to see what the clubs are going to look like. That's kind of bad, but I guarantee the clubs are going to be pretty.
I hear that Twitter is sending a record number of tweets about it. What are you hearing on social media? Or is everybody talking about this thing?
Hell yeah. Facebook, Twitter, it's all blowing up. It's pretty huge, yeah. That's all you hear about right now. It's not about the local news. It's not about this other news. It's about, marriage equality. So it's a great day. It is.
All right. Thanks, bro.
And we want to welcome Trevor Hilton to Gay News today. Hi, Trevor.
Hey, how are ya?
Good. So the reason we wanted you to call in today is that it finally happened. America has gone and done it. They legalized gay marriage, and we're dying to hear your reaction to this phenomenon.
I'm so shocked that it happened, and I'm really happy, and it's just been so awesome to see everyone so happy. And America's finally not this straight meat in a gay sandwich anymore, which is fabulous. So, and Obama, I really appreciated what he said in his speech right after it passed. And what was even more awesome is that the White House turned rainbow colors. So that was pretty awesome.
All right. Well, the last time that we caught up with you, it was practically like you were just about to get on a plane to Canada and leave this country behind because we were so backward in our ways.
I was pretty like, there's still more that they need to accomplish, but it's one step in the right direction, and this is a big step because
so you're impressed.
The rest of the world that America can be progressive and not backwards. So I'm very impressed.
That's great.
Yes.
I'm glad. I was hoping that you were rejoicing along with the rest of the LGBTQ community. Have you heard good things from your friends and people in your life? Is everybody happy?
Oh yeah, I have several friends that are actually getting married, or did get married that same day too. So it's pretty exciting to see everyone's rejoicing over this, and I hope that this will stay in law for the remainder of my lifetime and beyond.
Amen. Now, are your friends that are getting married, are they in some of the 13 states that had banned same-sex marriage?
Yeah, I have a couple friends that live in Texas that are super happy. And then another one lives in, I think, Louisiana, something down there.
Oh,
so,
okay.
And now what's even better is that, states cannot decide, oh, well, we're not going to allow you to marry because now they have to follow federal law. So they have no choice in the matter but to allow people their freedoms.
Well, I know that you had just a moment there. Do you have any final thoughts that you would like to say to our really gay audience? Any words of wisdom for them?
Yeah, well, if you're living in a family that's, not accepting, just remember that, there's always someone out there that'll be there to support you, and don't let the haters hate because that's what they want. Like that pastor, for instance, he wanted to light himself on fire. But then yet again, didn't it say in the Bible that committing suicide is a sin? So, he's kind of contradicting his own beliefs.
Let he who cast the first stone, right? Exactly.
Exactly. And all the gay people out there, just remember to be your fabulous selves and, remember that there's always good in this world and you're amazing.
All right, Trevor Hilton, thank you so much for coming on Gay News. We want you to have a good gay.
I have this feeling that this is a group that will never stop smiling. Because today, I'm looking at the signs, love has won, and we are not done. Senator Merkley, who's done such a wonderful job for us on these and so many issues, has dated me. There are 3 of us left who oppose this flawed, misguided DOMA. And the reality is that as we savor this wonderful victory, there's another message for all who may not agree with us. If you don't like gay marriage, don't get one. A great victory like this does not happen by osmosis. It happens because of all of the sweat equity, all of those hours, all of those rallies, and I know it was heavy lifting along the way. Jeff mentioned some of the key moments. I think back about Measure 36. So many of the moments, whether we wondered if this day would ever be at hand, a day when all Americans had dignity and their decisions about marriage were theirs and were not determined by government. So we've got more to do, and I'm going to make a little contribution this afternoon on that front. As the senior Democrat on the committee that writes the tax laws, I wanted to come today as everybody starts the partying, and I suspect the partying with this crowd is going to go pretty late. As we start the partying, I just want to announce today that I will soon be introducing tax legislation to recognize and protect the dignity under all our federal tax laws to ensure that there is equality in the tax code like there is equality in marriage. Jeff Merkley and I will be talking about those kinds of legislative efforts with you in the days ahead. I also want to single out Congresswoman Bonamici, our new member of Congress. What a wonderful advocate she has been. And just say in closing, I know a lot of people wonder. They wonder if you can make government work. Well, what you're seeing today, and particularly in wrapping up, I want to mention the young people here. The young people here who really did so much to change hearts and minds. That's why we are celebrating today. That's why tomorrow there'll be a new measure of freedom and dignity for all who want to choose who they wish to marry. So cherish this moment. Thank the young people. This is what Oregon is all about. God bless.
Thank you for listening to Gay News. We'd like to thank our guest today, Marty Davis, former publisher of Just Out, Mayor Charlie Hales, Communications Director Dana Haynes, Rebecca ESCAMILLA, Trevor Hilton, Brian Diva Cox, and Gay News contributor Special Agent J. Also a special thanks to Tom West for the Ron Wyden footage. And we want you all to have a very good gay.